And speaking about business side of things, I mean, you're like I said before, you're very entrepreneurial, and I see that you're doing something with simulators.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
started a simulator business.
yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one, really, because how I got into motorsport was actually from driving my Logitech G27 on the like Live for Speed and some F1 games back in 2007 8.
Mm.
It's a very little known fact, but that's how my kind of passion, how I realized I was good. It's actually on a simulator. I used to go to a place in Chandler's Ford called the Race Centre, and one day there was Harry Ticknell there, who's I think he's a factory driver. He's racing a lot in the States, and I beat him at one of these like F3 race events. That's how I kind of started. I was like, oh, I really want to do this. So coming back, over 10 years later, and in 2019, one of my clients basically said to me, I want the best simulator available. I did my due diligence. I started working to find out what's going to be the best option for him, visiting a lot of the workshops, a lot of the factories in the UK. And that was the first simulator build, which was delivered October 2019.
Mm.
And then, of course, lockdown, the travel restrictions, 2020 in Hong Kong, and then the phones just ringing, constantly. And yeah, the first one, I mean, the first simulator was for Philip, and he referred me to a lot of his friends and clients, and that was huge for me because I went from 2020 having 22 races that year signed to
Mm.
like two. So the simulators became very important, and on the back of that, it kind of really built into a thing where you know, on the sim side, I'm the man to do certainly a lot of the Hong Kong stuff, and working with ProSim, who they provide the simulators for Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz, Mick Schumacher, a lot of the GT drivers. They're the top simulators, and so it's been very busy. The last couple of years with that. And this year we have one sim arriving next week for a client. We just installed one last week in Hong Kong, and then we have a ridiculously cool one arriving very shortly, which is a big one with full motion and seatbelt tensioning devices and everything. It's exciting, but it's a good. Here we go. This is one of the simulators for a client, which is this is the Evolution GT, which is kind of, let's say, the top level GT simulator,
Right.
with triple 55-inch gaming TVs. But I mean, you can see, so like the simulators themselves, these are, let us say it's built like a tank. Everything on it is best of best. But
Mm.
then also on the software side of things, and this is where I'm able to assist clients with setting up their simulators, because if you have the field of view wrong, or you have one of the settings wrong, or the feedback, the tactile feedback isn't right, so taking the time and care to get everything perfect for
Mm.
each program as well, it's quite a time intensive thing. But it's really quite it's a joy to do, because you basically feel like you're driving a real car, and you can also work with your clients, to improve them as drivers. One of my guys started with me in 2019. He was 6.5, 7 seconds off, on track and then simulator. We worked to get that within, like the other day, he's now within a tenth of me. But on track, he got to within half a second on track, and we won, the world final at the end of last year.
Mm.
So it's useful. It's a good tool, and I really really enjoy working with the simulator side of things.
And you've said that it's a good entry point into motorsport. I mean, it's getting a lot more serious now these days, especially with the sim racing competitions that kind of blew up over the COVID lockdown period.
Yeah.
Is is it still you're a strong believer that you can go for, even if someone hasn't even stepped foot in a real life race car,
Yeah.
but if they do have the skill in the simulator, do you think it is
Yeah.
possible for them to have a successful career in real life racing?
Definitely. And the reason I say that is because, that was me. I never really publicized that much in the past because, 10, 15 years ago, no one wanted to be known as a guy who was, coming from the sim world. Nowadays, it's a lot more popular. But yeah, like I say, I mean, one of my clients, this 15-year-old kid, he's mega talented in the simulator. Really looking forward to getting him, over to the UK and do some karting and do some single-seater testing and see how he goes. Because from a natural talent perspective, he's got it. He's got it in spades. But definitely, there's a lot more. The manufacturers are putting more money into the esports side of things. I've got some exciting announcements soon, actually, with regards to the esports side, which should be exciting. But yeah, it's great to work with. It's just certainly the year of 2020 and 21. I was doing the SRO esports in Asia. Managed to win one or two races, which the ones which I could compete, and yeah, it's you learn a lot. You learn a lot as well because the setup aspect. You have to work with Motec. You have to go through all the data. You have to engineer. Unless you have an engineer with you, you have to engineer your own car.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it which you do learn and corresponds to the real world.
True. And in terms of the competitions that are primarily based out of Asia, there's a few going. And I remember, we tried to get this the esport motorsport up and running back in 2016.
Mm.
I think we were a bit ahead of ourselves because some of the racing simulations couldn't quite do what we wanted to do from a marketing aspect anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, have you competed in some of the Asian series, and do you think it's healthy? I mean, you hardly hear about them unless you're
Mm.
inside the community there. And
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to change in time because it's just growing more and more because the entry level is so low, right? If you want to try and compete in motorsport, you need a lot of money. Simulators, a lot of these guys in Asia, they're using, I say, relatively entry level equipment. It's only going to cost them a few thousand, depending on what kind of thing they've got. But the barrier to entry is low,
right.
and then track time is unlimited. So I remember, yeah, if you've got like E-Racing GP, which was organised by Alex Young, I was doing a bit in 2020. So I met a lot of these guys in Asia who are racing, and there was proper production around it, so it was actually enjoyable to watch. And while people had nothing to do, it was growing a lot. SRO have now taken that, and they're going to the next level. So they have the European Championship this year, the Asian Championship, they have the American Championship, and then they have IGTCE. So that's really, they've got the pro class and silver class, and then they've got the commentary, they've got everything, fully set up, taking the real world virtually.
Yeah.
And then the growth of that, esports, there's just, I think the next decade, it's just going to, increase more and more. What with, certainly if there's travel restrictions again, or even just to hedge against that sort of possibility. Because if you're a sponsor of a championship or you're a manufacturer or something, you're going to want to hedge against that. So by investing in esports, it's a good opportunity to attract a younger audience. And to be able to kind of provide extra value for your partners and for the fans watching at home.
I think it can be, to a degree, more valuable for sponsors to get involved into the esports arena because you have that direct access, but the viewer, the competitor, the customer has direct access to you because everything's in front of you. You can go straight to the sponsors' websites and social media accounts and everything. Whereas watching it on TV or being at the track yourself, you're just looking at branding. That's all you're doing. There's no interaction there.
Yeah.
But with SRO getting involved, I mean that's a massive motorsport organization. They're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. I mean, they've got it very well organized with regards to all the tech, all of the they work with the Assetto Corsa Competizione, because you've got then balance of performance issues between manufacturers. Yeah, it's a huge operation to run. something with different manufacturers where it's the level of what they're doing. But they do a good job with it, and they're able to kind of put that content out to their fan base, and they've even introduced real world points being based on what's happening on the virtual races as well. So there's more of this integration with the virtual world and the real world, which the only thing which I see for with the virtual stuff is there's no time limit. And that's where it can be difficult, because as a driver you can try so many different things, and then you can invest so much time. And if you do an event where you've, let's say, done 40 hours of preparation, then you get hit off in the first corner, it's mentally pretty challenging. Whereas of course with the real world stuff, you've done testing over 2 test days or something. It's not to the same sort of extremity.
What platform is SRO using?
So it's on Competizione, ACC.
Okay. Yeah, that was. Would you say? Well, who would they're one of the top 3, right? You'd say.
Yeah.
AC, iRacing.
Yeah.
Would you put Race Room up there, or
Race Room's just I'd say a little bit behind that. Like it's very popular in Asia. From a physics point of view, I know that they did an update, I think last year, and it was actually pretty good because we use it for like the Dubai circuit, because they actually laser scan Dubai. Yeah, from a kind of, I mean, for our simulators, we always go with ACC, AC. We have our own custom ProSim software. And then, they're kind of an iRacing, of course, but they all have their own little kind of pros and cons. But certainly for what SRO are wanting to do, ACC kind of fits the bill perfectly for them.
Right. And in regards to the actual stimulator, do yours have hydraulics, or are you against having the simulator moving up and down? Does that add anything, or does it actually take something away from the reality?
Well, this is a really interesting question, because everything we do for the simulators, whatever we put on, has to be a benefit. Okay. And we test all these different products, and we constantly refine it so that it is the best that it could possibly be and the most realistic. But recently I've had one customer who was very let's say insistent. He wanted the moving platform. And I've just had another one yesterday, actually, the same thing, very keen on the moving platform. And so it's a question of how do you integrate that, because the moving platform itself is expensive. If money is not an object, then that's fine. But like with the G-force, what happens is, if you're in a real car and you're experiencing, let's say, 3G, you're going, your whole body is going forwards and you can feel that. And then let's say it's backwards, you can feel that. It's going to be sustained. The G-force is sustained.
Yeah.
With anything you see online, which is like on a big thing, which is kind of going like, this, that's not realistic. Maybe it looks good at a trade show or something, but the moment it dips like that, which it never, your body doesn't dip like that anyway. But the moment it does that, you've then got no sustaining of the G. Okay. So it's useless information, and your brain, if you're trying to simulate reality in order to test so that this simulator is good for race drivers, then you want it to be close. So what we do with the movement is we put it on a moving platform, which effectively moves this side to side as well, but it's not huge, and it will give you kind of, let's say you pop your front right over a curb, you'll feel that curb. Okay. Right. So it's consistent to real life. But I know I've heard of some F1 teams who actually have like a full moving thing, which is let's multi-million. That's fine. That's good, because they're going to be trying to simulate it as best as possible. But if you want to put something at home which is realistic, we'd say if we can do it, let's say financially, we put it on this platform so that we get that extra bit. Because as standard, we run with tactile feedback, where basically you'll feel through the seat, like curbing, engine gear shifts, and like it's really, really nice to give the feedback as to what it is in real life. But if you want that extra sensation of a little bit of movement with the once you kind of put your front right over a curb, this sort of thing, it just adds that extra depth. then that's superb as well. But yeah, anything which is kind of a little bit too much, and yeah, it's not right, let's say.
And you put a lot of pressure through the steering wheel as well, right? There's a lot of
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because we can simulate up to like a 27 Newton meters on the wheel. So, if you want to drive the equivalent, let's say Formula 2 car, which is really heavy steering, or let's say that you want to train for that, so you want to go above, what an F2 wheel is, then we can do that. And the simulators themselves, they're so, let's say, rock solid. Nothing moves on the thing. And the pedal itself is a proper racing pedal. It's all designed by ProSim, and we can adapt everything. So if you want to change the pad knock off, you want to change the feel, there is hundreds of different customizations to get it to what you want. And so that's something where, when it comes to testing, I have one client, he's like, oh, actually, I want it to be a little bit, can you do this? Can I have a little bit more knockoff? Can I, but everything we can change. And, we're able to provide that service where, let's say it's a VIP concierge service where it's like, oh, I want this particular thing to be done. Yeah, no worries, we'll do it for you. So it's really enjoyable working with people who know what they want in a particular thing and are particular about these things, because we're constantly refining and making the simulators literally the best that they can possibly be. And that's why we're so busy.
You are. I mean, you're so consistent with posting on social media, the new clients that you're getting. It seems like your business is doing very well. And I mean, you're certainly the only simulator provider I know in Asia that you're doing a better job at marketing, really.
Yeah.
The